Video games have a large part in everyday life in the modern age. Considering news outlets have been covering apparent video game addiction for decades now, and that late night shows are having video game streamers as guests on them, the video game industry seems to be at an all-time high. While this is true in America, and places like Japan, Europe, China, and more boast their own healthy video game industry, with their own developers and publishers and consumers. However, for those not too into gaming, it may come as a surprise when I say that South Korea's gaming industry is on a whole different level. For a country with only 50 million people, gaming is $1 billion industry. And what is even more impressive about this, as opposed to other countries, there are not many prominent video game developers in South Korea. So how did this happen? Like America in the 70s, South Korea had Japanese developers advertise and sell games such as Pong and Donkey Kong, which were imported and sold to the public with moderate success. But many of these foreign games were poorly translated, with basic Korean letters and symbols used on boxes and arcade machines. However, with the age of the NES and later the SNES and Sega Genesis, foreign companies found it difficult to advertise in South Korea. This is due to the fact that the South Korean government largely favored South Korean developers, which largely bootlegged and occasionally copied foreign games. This led to foreign developers such as Nintendo and Sega licensing their products to South Korean companies in order to make money. It was simple: supply South Korean companies with supplies so that foreign companies could make some form of a profit, and the South Korean companies had the home advantage of advertising, taking most of the profits. While this led to a game industry similar to other countries, this changed dramatically with the popularization of computer gaming. While PC gaming is popular in other countries, it's truly a different beast in South Korea. Even though bandwidth in South Korea has always been considerably great, the popularity of PC gaming in South Korea has led to the rise of gaming cafes where people can rent computers which are generally considered higher end to what most of the population has access to. These are called PC bangs. And the recent statistic on these is that there are about 25,000 PC bangs across South Korea, costing around $1.30 per hour to use. For perspective, there are less than 12,000 Walmarts in the world and less than 15,000 McDonald's in the US. The first PC Bang opened in 1991, but these gained more popularity around 1997 with the release of StarCraft, an RTS game which required teamwork, where a team of players would play against another team online. Teams could participate in tournaments for money and prizes, creating a popular competitive scene, and it was such so that StarCraft tournaments were soon broadcasted on the nation's TV networks after its release. Other RTSs, such as StarCraft 2 and League of Legends, only led to the increase of the nation's obsession with electronic sports, or esports for short. The prize pools for esports tournaments now can reach to upwards of $500,000. While South Korea has a thriving esports scene, not all of this is good news. The nation has expressed concern in video game addiction, specifically in its youth, being the reason for creating video game curfew laws that prohibits anyone under the age of 16 from gaming from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Luckily, studies have shown that only about 2% of South Korea's population actually shows signs of real video game addiction. South Korea may be a pioneer in terms of what other countries might look in terms of gaming, as we are becoming more interested in competitive games over here. There are already esports coverage by many outlets. Will we become esports obsessed like South Korea and implementing laws to reduce video game addiction? Only time will tell.